I'd like to now invite a good friend of mine, NACD President Tim Palmer, to take the stage for the President's address.
Thank you, Brent. Good morning, everyone. For those of you that I haven't met yet, I'm Tim Palmer. I'm the president of your National Association. I live in Iowa. I grow corn, soybeans, and raise some cattle with the help of my wife, Shelley, who I'm sorry is a little bit under the weather this morning, and my sons, Greg and Jeff. One of the most engaged people I have on the farm is my grandson, Logan, and he's probably doing more work than the rest of them. Some of you heard stories about Logan. He's 13 years old. 13 and a half. I've got to remember that, 13 and a half. And he has been helping me on the farm pretty steadily since he was 8 years old. And he used to start out, he'd call me, I said, "Grandpa, what are you doing today?" And I would say, well, if I said, "Well, I'm choring," he would say, "Well, I've got homework to do, maybe I'll see you later." But if I said, "Oh, I'm just riding the four-wheeler around doing stuff," and he said, "Can I come and help?" So I was looking forward to him coming out a few weeks ago to help on the farm on a Saturday, and he never showed up. So I talked to him later in the day, and I said, "Hey, I was looking for you. What happened? Why didn't you come?" And he said, "Well, I had Saturday school." And I kind of gave him the business about having Saturday school. We all know what Saturday school means. I said, "What did you have Saturday school?" And he says, "Well, I was late for school." And I said, "You live 2 blocks from the school. How can you be late for school?" Well, he was late between classes because I think he's kind of like his grandpa. He wants to visit a little bit and loses track of time, and so that he doesn't make the bell into class. Well, I says, "Well, thank God you got that done. You surely missed a great, beautiful day sitting in school." And I said, "You got that out of your way?" He said, "No, I was late for Saturday school." So a little bit more about me. I was elected as a commissioner in Madison County, Iowa in 2003. And I've served the conservation districts of Iowa since 2006. And my first meeting was in 2008 in Reno. And it's really good to be back here in the Silver State for our 74th anniversary. On behalf of NACD, I thank you for joining us in Las Vegas. Throughout the year, your officers, board, and executive staff, and I have met a majority of you here, traveling from coast to coast, border to border, and then some, and everywhere in between. And you can see from the screen just how many places that we've been between your officers and your staff, trying to cover the breadth and width of the United States. We've been to Phoenix, Arizona, all the way to Tacoma, Philadelphia, Atlanta, LA. No, just kidding, but that's not much of an exaggeration. Google Maps can hardly keep up with us. So last fall I was in West Virginia. Well, on behalf of all of us, it's been a privilege to meet you and your compatriots, to hear firsthand the issues that face conservation districts, and to hear and to find out what we can do better to serve you. When I was in West Virginia this last fall, I was struck by a comment made by Brian Farkas, who is executive director of the West Virginia Conservation Agency. And he said in his remarks, "Conservation matters because conservation works." That struck home for me. And taking a step further, conservation districts matter because conservation works. The work we accomplish every day on America's landscape, no matter what size, no matter where, makes a difference. You've seen it, and so have I. Conservation works. We've all felt, seen, and smelled the changes in the land, the difference in the soil, the results of programs that we provide and promote, and the partnerships that we foster. The conservation we do in the field as leaders throughout conservation partnership, whether it's through the state conservation agencies, the RC&D councils, the local NRCS office, or the conservation district with the help of our district employees, works, and it matters because it works. America's taking note. I've been working with the Ecosystem Services Market Consortium for 2 years now, working alongside power players in the food and agricultural chain with support of foundations and agencies. These companies and organizations have a big footprint, and through SCMC, they are finding solutions to remove carbon dioxide from the air. Look who's on that list. Look who's on that list. This is not just ag companies. These are big companies that provide food and services to our consumers, to the buyers of our produce. Companies that realize that they have a duty to the environment and a duty that their customers are demanding more and more. Our conservation districts work every day with the nation's producers to provide solutions that these consumers and customers seek. And that's why endeavors like ESMC that reward producers directly for gains in environmental quality, air, water, flora, and fauna, ultimately reward them through the increased value of their produce as well. Everybody in this room knows that the most natural and cheapest way to get carbon dioxide out of the air is through plants, with the help of plants and plants that store carbon in the soil. NACD is working to ensure that conservation districts are part of that puzzle in the future, helping to ensure that America's growers receive payment for the good, sound conservation practices that they apply. Conservation districts, since their inception, more than 75 years ago, have adapted to new technologies, new resources, and new challenges to better serve their customers and the land. This past year, really the past 2 seasons plus, have been incredibly difficult for America's growers. Mother Nature has not been kind to us, from unrelenting rains to scorching temperatures, early frosts, and wildfires. Farm equipment, grain bins, topsoil just getting swept away. And on top of that, the farm economy has been proven another almost insurmountable challenge, a constant challenge in the face of good growing seasons, let alone in years with unusual or even catastrophic weather. It's been devastating. But our nation's growers have not been alone. Right there alongside them, standing in their fields and coming up with solutions to help them solve their problems, have been our nation's conservation districts, strong because of their leadership and our partnerships. Conservation districts have been there, demonstrating how conservation works and why conservation matters. We've been working with landowners following the wrath of Hurricanes Maria and Irma to clear debris in Puerto Rico and the U.S. Virgin Islands through emergency watershed protection programs to mitigate the effects of future hurricanes. Our Oklahoma conservation districts and Nevada natural resource districts, to name a few, have helped landowners and communities navigate FEMA paperwork and monitor upstream flood control structures. They offer assistance, support, and a helping hand whenever they can. Our conservation districts are ultimately neighbors helping fellow neighbors. As NRCS slogan states, helping people help the land. It's the strength of locally led conservation and the innovation to solve these problems is often bred out of necessity. That is why it is so important this week that we really take a deep delve into when talking about what this year's annual meeting theme, conservation innovation, working from the roots up. And I really do mean from the roots up. From ESMC and carbon sequestration to the record number of acres enrolled in Prevent Plant in 2019, the general public is taking notice of what we're doing. And they're taking notice of the incredible work that Living Roots conduct beneath our feet, from backyard gardens and lawns to America's fields, forests, and everywhere in between. Conservation districts are encouraging landowners to utilize systems that promote healthy soils, such as cover crops, planted green, reduce tillage, and manage grazing, as well as forestry management practices that reduce fuel loads and maximize the environmental and economic benefits of timber tracts. Our cooperators are experimenting with practices that make a difference. Not only on their bottom line, they make a difference on their bottom line, but it's helped anchoring the soil so that when the next big flood or windstorm or drought or wildfire comes along, their land will recover sooner. The words and terms that we use now, that we commonly use in conservation circles, are being adopted by our suppliers and our schools and are being used in everyday language. Our nation's conservation districts, represented by the very people in this room, but you all in this room, are at the forefront of innovation across multiple fronts: marketing approaches, partnerships, funding, and technology. The strategies for landowners and producers and communities with whom they work every day. Our conservation districts are continuing to expand their urban outreach, growing their technical capacity at the same time they grow their reach, forging partnerships and relationships with non-traditional farmers and growers that they might not have directly assisted before. Our conservation districts are at the forefront of natural resource conservation projects, installing community gardens and bioswales, conducting training workshops, creating outreach materials for a variety of languages, establishing farm-to-market programs so that America's youth can create a relationship with where their food comes from. Our conservation districts are educating their communities and helping expand their access to cleaner water, fresher produce in some of the neighborhoods that need it most. In 2016, NACD and NRCS partnered to expand the conservation district technical capacity in urban settings through the Urban Agriculture Conservation Grant Program. In 2017, the two organizations announced a second round of funding, with a third round of funding being announced at last year's annual meeting in 2019. To date, NACD and NRCS have awarded 81 grants to support local food production, opportunities for education and stewardship, and natural resource protection strategies. It is my privilege now to announce NACD and NRCS have partnered again this year for a fourth round of funding. For the first time this year, conservation districts that had previously received UAC grants were eligible to apply for funding new projects within the initiative. And the 2020 Urban Agricultural Grant Initiative recipients are, for this year, Inland Empire Resource Conservation District in California, Riverside Corona Resource Conservation District in California, Marion County Soil and Water Conservation District in Indiana, Cumberland Soil and Water Conservation District in Maine, Genesee Conservation District in Michigan, Boone County Soil and Water Conservation District in Missouri. Whatever the right term is. Ryan, correct me afterwards, take a chunk out of me. Valencia Soil and Water Conservation District in New Mexico, Warren County Soil and Water Conservation District in New York, Ashland Soil and Water Conservation District in Ohio, Cuyahoga Soil and Water Conservation District in Ohio. That was easier for me to say than Missouri, I'm telling you. Allegheny Conservation District in Pennsylvania, Indiana County Conservation District in Pennsylvania, Northern Rhode Island Conservation District in Rhode Island, Richland Soil and Water Conservation District, South Carolina, Colonial Soil and Water Conservation District in Virginia, Kitsap Conservation District in Washington, Kittitas County Conservation District in Washington, Palouse County Conservation District in Washington, Pierce Conservation District in Washington, Thurston Conservation District in Washington, and Underwood Conservation District in Washington. Please join me in congratulating these districts. Learn more about these the proposed projects on NACD's website. We look forward to seeing their incredible work, the incredible work these projects will make towards making our mission a reality. With this latest round of agreements, NACD and NRCS have now awarded 102 urban conservation grants since the program launched in 2016. It is a testament to the leadership of our conservation districts and within their communities of the strength of partnerships and the importance of conservation on every acre, no matter the landscape, no matter where. Conservation themes throughout the meeting. Thank you again for joining us this week in Las Vegas. I hope you enjoy your time here. It's an honor to represent you. It's been a great first year as president of your association. And if you see me in the hallway, please grab me and introduce yourself if I haven't met you yet. That's the high point of my presidency is getting to know each of you more on a personal level. Let me know how we can best serve you as an organization through our partnerships and relationships. And with that, I'm going to give you your NACD Chief Executive Officer, Jeremy Peters, for his report.